Practicing just a bit of an etude can yield huge results. To paraphrase the great German designer Dieter Rams, today we're going to practice less, but better. Hi, and welcome to the Saxophone Academy. I'm Dr. Wally Wallace. In our time here together today, in today's lesson, I wanted to start to learn an etude with you, specifically Close number 3, one of my favorites. We're not even going to do the entire thing. We're going to learn some of it, and we're going to yield huge benefits from just these few phrases from the etude. Now, you can download the entire book of Close etudes for free. The Saxophone Academy, we've put out our own edition. Download it and check out number 3, grab it, and we'll start to learn this together. So throughout this lesson, we're going to cover some of the huge benefits of learning these kind of old school classical etudes, subdivision, rubato learning, the rule of threes, rhythmic hacking, and a cumulative approach to learning music. And at the end, we're going to cover some myths and legends you might have heard about etudes that I kind of want to help clear your mind and take away some of the fear that maybe has prevented you from diving in and working on this kind of material in the past. But let's dive in immediately and start playing this etude. Grab your saxophone and play along. We're just going to take the opening first few bars of the opening phrase. And first things first, rubato, freely. We're not putting on the metronome just yet. We're staying relaxed and easy. We're just looking at the notes, noticing patterns, noticing the shapes, seeing where the landing notes are, and noticing inarticulation marks that we see. So just slowly, at your own tempo, play through. Ease and accuracy is what we're after first. Then we introduce Monsieur Metronome. Start with a duple feel. And this is something that will apply to all the etudes that we're learning or you learn. Initially, kind of ignore the time signature. If it's a fast etude, start just learning 2 notes per beat regardless of what the time signature says. So here we're going to put on the metronome and play 2 notes per beat. Slowly practice at the tempo of no mistakes. Then we slowly speed up the metronome. For the demonstration purposes today, I'm going to speed it up a little bit more quickly than perhaps you're comfortable with. Feel free to play along and try to keep up. But what we're going to do is increase the tempo, then employ the rule of threes. Once we get to that new tempo, can we play it 3 times in a row? Not just 3 times over multiple days, 3 times in a row perfectly. And in a relaxed fashion. If not, it's time to slow it down and do some other work or employ one of the techniques we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But as you speed it up, do a little bit of an ecology check with your own playing in your own body. Can you repeat that phrase 3 times relaxed with no mistakes? Then when we get enough speed, what I'd like to do is back off the tempo until we have 4 notes per beat. Now, in this case, we can take a look at the meter here, and we're going to notice it's going to be a half note pulse. The metronome is going to click a half note, and we're going to subdivide 1E and 2E and or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And it really doesn't matter how you're counting in your head. We're after growing great technique here, not necessarily learning the ins and outs of how this etude was composed just yet. That's a higher level thing that we'll get to eventually. Now, interestingly, while I was filming the demo portion of this video, I found myself just kind of zoning out and playing through it again and again and again. I have about 150 more takes than necessary, hundreds of repetitions more, because I kind of, feel free to judge me, I really enjoyed it. I find it meditative, relaxing, and highly satisfying to work on these etudes. And if you feel the same way, or if you'd like to reach that level of etudnik prajna, make sure you hit the like button and you can find your moment of zen in these etudes as well. Namaste. Did I pronounce that correct? Namaste? I don't want to say that again. Now, inevitably, you will reach a breaking point. I don't mean psychologically, though we've all found that as well. Yeah, I mean, in the etude, you'll reach a point where you really can't go any faster. Before you stop or slow it back down, there's another technique I like to employ, and even if it's not incorrect, even if the breaking point is it feels tense, I don't like the way it feels in my body, I feel like it's coming out correct technically, but it doesn't feel good, then we employ rhythmic hacking. Now, I have an entire video on rhythmic hacking. If you just search Dr. Wally rhythmic hacking, it'll be the first thing that comes up. But in the rhythmic hacking video, we talk about how to scramble the brain, hack the rhythms, where we do long, short, then reverse, short, long. So I'm going to demonstrate that process quickly here. A duple feel, then a long, short, then a short, long, and then going back and forth. And then magically, it can push you through some barriers to get you faster, cleaner, and more importantly, relaxed. Now, we've had a lot of fun with just a few measures of an etude. You may think, oh gosh, this is stressful. We spent all this time and energy and I have 4 bars of an etude. I'm never going to learn the whole thing. Let's not worry about that. We'll talk more about that in the myths and legend portion later on. But let's add some more. Again, you don't have to learn the entire etude to get huge results from it. But we are going to go on, but let's start to learn cumulatively. But let's add the next bit. We're going to do the exact same thing we did before, with the new thing, starting with rubato, duple, quadruple, and if necessary, rhythmic hacking. Now, if you've been practicing this on your own or you do this sort of thing in a practice session, this entire process could have taken 20 or 40 minutes, and you might have a few lines of the etude. Now, our Western brains are screaming, this isn't enough. We need more progress. We need measurable results because we have to finish the entire thing. Well, let's talk about a couple of misconceptions that I've already alluded to. But myth number one, we have to learn etudes in order that they appear in the book. We have to learn them all until we get to an etude. And then when we learn an etude, we have to learn the entire thing. Completely not true. I, with a lot of my students, skip etudes that maybe is not the lesson we need to work on right now. Maybe it's just an etude I don't like. It's unidiomatic. I don't like the way it feels. Not that there's not benefit, but maybe there's a lesson I'm wanting to get beyond that. So for this etude, I'm working on a jazz standard with my students. I found a new baby, and it's in a minor key, and there's a motion in this etude when it goes to the relative minor in this etude. It feels great, and it's a pattern that works in that etude. I like the subdivision. The tempo feels good to what we're learning. So this etude works. I don't have to have my students go through etude number 1 and 2 to get to this. Likewise, if you don't finish the entire etude, that's fine. Learning 2 measures well, building solid technique, good subdivision, and relaxation, you're going to start to notice these patterns that are repeated throughout. You're going to get a lot of benefit even if you don't learn the entire etude. I absolutely promise you that. Number 2, the myth of 12 keys. Now, those of you that have studied Fairling, my brothers and sisters, I feel you. If you've made it through the entire book, you know you finished with that etude that's an F sharp major or G flat major, I don't remember which, and it's like in 12/8 and there's double sharps. We don't have to play everything we play in 12 keys. You don't have to do etudes cycling through every key to get big benefits. It is beneficial as well to familiarize yourself with those keys. But think about this. Some of these great motions and patterns that we learn here in the key of C, we don't have that in the 12/8 etude at the back of the Fairling that's in G major necessarily. Does that mean we have to take this pattern and put it in a different key? It can be beneficial, but we don't have to do it in 12 keys. And here's what I have found personally in my own practice. If I practice something and I learn it really well in one key, it transfers to many more other keys. For instance, some of these that great feeling moment in this etude, what if we were just to move our finger down and cover the biz key? What if that C natural turned into a C sharp and instead of hitting G, we hit G sharp? These patterns, these shapes will transfer to other key areas. Now, it is absolutely beneficial to have some things we practice in 12 keys, and I'm in no way saying never play in the key of D flat major. I'm just saying sometimes when we have limited time, especially as adult learners, practicing for a little bit more bang for the buck, because I don't play a lot of jazz standards in F sharp major on the saxophone key. We play tons in the key of C on tenor and alto. So there is benefit to playing in 12 keys, but I don't want you to get in the mindset that you're not making progress unless you learn an etude book that goes through all 12 keys, or anything you do in a key, you do it in 12 keys. That is absolutely not true. And finally, I want you to think about the purpose. Why are we studying these etudes? And it's not to play the etude well. Now, some of you might just be screaming at your phone or tablet or PC right now saying, that is absolutely the goal, to play this well. It's really not. Now, there are things that are called concert etudes, which are meant to be performed live on a stage. Closés are not concert etudes. They're not meant to be performed. So if you notice, as I'm practicing this, I will take a breath and then restart clean on the beat. I'm not worrying about where to add dynamics or where to sneak in a breath to continue the phrase. These aren't musical. These aren't great music. These are not performance pieces. They're not concert etudes. So you can learn them in chunks. You don't have to worry about adding dynamics and phrasing and sneaking in breaths and trying to make it sound like Bach, because it ain't. So what I want you to do is think of these as training, as the boxer might do the jump rope, the speed bag, lift weights. He doesn't do those exact things in the ring, but they still have huge benefit. I assume. I've never boxed and I have no intention of letting anyone punch me in the face. But you get the idea that this is training for the musical context. We don't just learn, or they wouldn't learn boxing just by the act of boxing. Likewise, we don't just play music in context with phrases with jazz articulation and nuance and inflection. We can isolate aspects and build great technique. And it's a lot of fun. Hey, if you have questions or comments about this, let me know down below in the comments, and let's talk more about learning these etudes, what etudes you'd like to learn, and possible future applications of these etudes. I really appreciate you spending this time with me here today. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. If this is incredibly boring to you, I'm sorry. In time, you will grow to love them, said the evil villain inside a hollowed-out volcano. I hope, because I really do. Great seeing you here. I will see you again very soon. In the meantime, go practice.